the exercise people out and Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. What's up, guys? How's everyone? Hope insiders are doing great. We are excited. Another week. We had a great episode last week with our part 2 of our forums forum and really sharing just some fun stuff, some fun hot takes on different things going on in sport karate. And, you know, I'm sharing. Hope you guys share the podcast with different groups and everybody.
For sure.
And, yeah, you know, let everybody know about your favorite sport karate podcast. So, and again, we will be back. You know, if you are listening to us, sorry, you missed us last week. If you normally listen on the podcast version,
but we find us on Spotify or Apple Podcast or whatnot.
Yeah. Our director, you know, has been traveling, as you can find out. As you know, he's in London right now, so having some fun. Yeah, have some fun. There, Travis.
Well, I love that.
Hey, Gabrielle, how are you?
I'm envious of, you know, his situation. It's great that he can.
Me too.
He's still working. He's working, and he's able to, you know, do what everybody kind of like says in their head, like, oh yeah, I would just work from wherever I wanted. Well, he's actually doing that. So yeah, I think that's pretty dope.
It's pretty cool. All right. If you cannot see, you don't know, we are sponsored by the Virtual Fight Tour, and man, it's they Virtual Fight Tour has done some amazing things and really changed the sport over the past 2 to 3 years, and really excited to see that. I guess it's been 2 years, and and so really excited to be a part of that, to continue to support what they do, and they continue to support us. So we're excited about that. And you want to go ahead and just let's start talking about what Jesse did last week. What's up, Jackson? What's up, guys?
I think it's so dope what he did when he was talking about the like the team challenge. You know, so there's a few things I've always thought about, you know, like what would be the coolest thing that a tournament could do, right? You think about like, well, what makes something cool?
Right.
It makes it cool if it's exclusive, because then it's sought after. Like, oh, I want that, but I can't do that. Oh man, let me get the VIP, right? You know, you ever go to the club? Well, when you would go to the clubs, which, by the way, if we ever get to it, I actually went to a club last weekend.
Oh my God.
What is a whole nother topic? It was a whole nother thing. It was wild. I was the oldest person in there by like 20 years. But anyway, right? Another day, another dollar. All right. Anyway, so you go to like the club, you there because you want to go and you want to hang on, you want to be around people, and you want to have yourself a good time. But apparently, the coolest place to be is the place that's secluded away from everybody. And we're like, why is that cool? Because nobody can be there. But yet, that's not actually what you want to do. But it's exclusive, so it's cool. So you think about like, all right, what would be cool if it's exclusive or if just everybody is at it, you know?
Right.
Like that's where you're not cool unless you're there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those types of things. So I think about it like, remember the movie Enter the Dragon?
All right, hold on 1 second before you get on to all this.
Yeah.
You hadn't really told anyone what Jesse did. Okay, so
that's true. I did.
So in case you haven't seen, he put out a video, and he kind of said, you know, we hear a lot of stuff about who has the best team, who has the best 3-man team, or who has the best 2-woman team. Well, I want to put my money up, and so put up or shut up. So he's saying I put $1,000 down, and we keep adding to the pot, and that'll be the pot, and winner take all. You know, maybe he'll do maybe a runner-up type thing, you know, for something. But so he's challenging 3-man team for men. He's putting his next level guys, you know, that would be like Tyson, D-Stacks, and James Poor. against whoever else wants to match that, who wants to come up. So again, CTE talked about it some, but this is your chance, guys, if you want to not only like be the best, but do it in a different platform and really be all the eyes focused on you. It's not a whole tournament going on. It's not this or that. No one's going to miss. Like, oh, I missed that fight. I didn't know. Like, it's all on the teams. You know who is the best.
Because I don't think there's a date for it
yet. So go ahead and answer his call. Yeah,
it's not a matter of like, oh, I can't make the date. My cousin's getting married. Like, there's not even a date set for it.
No.
It's just like all teams tell me if you're in. Seems like that's where the status is right now. Right. You're not really trying to win if you're not trying to be a part of this. Right. Which, hey, let's be honest. Some teams aren't. Like, we hear this all the time. Like in football, your favorite football team, they might not be trying to win any games. They're not.
Hey, they are right now. They've been making a lot of moves right now, man.
Your favorite football team, that's for sure.
Yeah, my favorite football team. Yours, no.
But I like mine. I like what my team's doing. You know what I mean? I actually really don't even watch much football. I pay attention behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's hear your favorite.
They're not always trying to win. So some of these teams might not be. They might be planning for the future. We not. Those teams are really, we're not to that level yet. All right, you should still compete, but we'll find out.
Right.
So
who do you guys in the comments? Who do you want to see step up to this challenge? Versus next level. Who's the team that you want to win it? As
I was starting to talk about earlier. Remember that movie Enter the Dragon?
Yes.
When it was like an invitation only. I mean, they all kind of take place in the same. Around that time period, martial arts movies, they were all taking place with the same thing. It was this tournament in Hong Kong, where everybody had to go to, and it was invitation only.
What's
you
up,
had
Andrew?
you had to take a rickshaw to get there. Right? It was on this secluded island. All right. And then there's tournament, right, where there's one favorite, whoever it's going to be. Heck, Bloodsport was basically the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, but the fact that it was like invitation only was pretty cool, which we could do. It could be something like that. I don't think that that's the case, but then someone would have to accept the invite. And I think it should be, maybe Jesse does it that way and says, listen, I've invited these teams. Now it's out there.
Right.
You got to say something about your invitation.
Right.
Everybody knows you were invited. You know what I mean? But
who are some of the teams you think will do it? Put up or shut up. He's saying John Claude's saying that they're going to do an individual version of this too, possibly. So, kind of cool.
Well, that's kind of what VFT is.
Really? Yeah, that's true. It kind of is, but I think they're saying you put up your own money. So.
Yeah, well, I think that is.
I think they're talking about tournament style. I was just going to talk about that, Jackson. So he's saying this kind of has a vibe of New England Open one year. Yeah, and I think it was 2013 or 2014. But we went there. I went there with Team Proper that year. It wasn't a buy-in, but pretty much everyone. And he's saying in weapons or whatever.
Didn't Joe?
I'm talking about this actually happened in team fighting that year. Every top team was there. There was about 9 teams. Still, with the money he was given, it probably should have been more. But every top team was there. You had Impex, you had Straight Up, you had All Stars, you had Proper, you had let's see, there were some other top teams there as well. I'm just trying to remember at the time. JPM had a team. All these guys. Several teams from Canada were there. Lots of different ones. So it was really cool to see there. I guess it was before Hayabusa, so it might have been a Alliance team. I think is actually fought there. But it was a great, just an amazing tournament, and Joe did an awesome job of putting. I think he put 5,000 or something like that, or it was 3,000 and
I think this
1,500
was like,
for
yeah, I think I remember that. I
for
think this was like
runner-up.
2013.
Yeah, and they gave runner-up a big prize as
Yeah.
well. But man, I mean, it was awesome to see all that, and that's kind of how I feel. This could be, but again on a different platform, in the cage. So pretty
Cage is
awesome
different.
stuff. I think you guys need to reach out to Jesse if you have a team that wants to get their name out. This is a great time. If you have a team who you think is the best, let's see it. I mean, I'd love to see all these guys top 10, Diamond, All Stars. I would love to see Impex have a team again. I don't know what's going on with that, but I would love to see that. Straight up, TDE would be a great team in this.
Yep.
I mean, just amazing. So, and again, if you have a team that you feel like can do it and shock the world, put it out there. Why not? Right?
Yeah, and there's teams that catch fire.
Yeah.
That in a tournament, you're like, damn, how the heck did that happen? You know what I
Yep.
mean? How did these guys do that? Heck, I've been on some of those before.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, we won the team matchup, and you're like, let me see if I got this straight. These NK boys beat them, and them too.
Right.
They must have just had themselves a night, and yeah, that can happen. So, like, obviously, you look at it on paper, and I don't know, who would you say would be? Well, let's say there's 8 teams. That makes it an even bracket. 8 teams. There should be at least 8 teams that want to do this.
Right. I mean, that's $8,000 right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there you go. And then what? The runner-up gets your money back, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, or you do like
everything-
6,000 for the winner and 2,000 for runner-up or something. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you did that, if we're talking 8 teams, we're talking about the men's teams because Jesse specified men, 3-man, 2-woman team fight. And the only reason I think the 2-woman thing is just because not a lot of teams have women or more than 2. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah. What Richard's saying.
I think he's just talking about some of the times that you guys had surprised people. So
yeah, including some teammates. Yes, he did. We did. we did not expect him to do all that stuff. So yeah, even his teammates, he's surprised. But anyway, if we're talking about the top 8 teams right now, let's just go down the list. You know what I mean? Let's say All Stars, straight up,
TDE.
next level, TDE.
Yep.
Top 10 USA.
Yep, top 10 USA. Did we say? Let's see.
I don't know who Impex is. I know who 2 of them are.
Right. Well, they have a team, but they haven't really fought but one time.
They got
together.
the other kid from Canada.
Yeah, Nico.
Yeah.
We don't know what's happening with the, like at one point we had the K-Talk team that was kind of building up, we don't know what's going on with that. And, Adidas
all we know with
other
K-Talk is everybody copy and pasted the same, farewell letter.
Yeah.
I felt like I was supposed to it got to the point where I should have said, I'm sorry, I'm no longer with EOC. Because it was everybody was doing the same thing.
Oh, that's another one. Gypsy would be a good one, I think. A young one.
I don't know about Revolution. I don't know who won Revolution.
I think Diamond, I feel like they have a solid team that, could be on there. Revolution doesn't have a team
we're at 7
fighting yet. Revolution doesn't. They're building a men's team right now. They're building one, with Cameron Kloss and Angel, and they're building a good men's team. But I don't think they're there yet. You also have, all right, people say Proper, but really Proper has a team from Mexico they could put in there, or a South Latin American team that they could put in there, with Colocho. What's the other guy's name? I think it's Luis and Eker, or they have another one as well that they could put in there. Oh my God, Jorge Morales as well. So they could have those guys they could also have a European team as well, you know. So
I still think KTOC's got a team, though. KTOC still's got a team.
yeah.
Actually, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
I don't
Hector's
know if they
still
do.
with KTOC though. So Hector's still with KTOC.
I don't know what they got because I
You
don't know.
also
I
are
can't
talking about.
remember who left.
I don't know about international teams. I mean, I think that would be good as well. I mean,
Oh, they're gonna make it to New York. But it counts if they're all
you
wearing the
know,
same uniforms and they
Velocity,
make it to New York.
I think could have an awesome team. You know, with Justice and Ortiz, and then the other guy that won down in Starcade. They have a good team. I think his name's Kendall. They have a solid team they could use there that are all up and comers. So it's really interesting, you know. I mean, I think we could definitely get 6 to 8. So and yeah, a Canadian team would be great. You know, a couple of the things, you know, that like talking about, you know, New England Open, how that reminded me. We also talked about those times when like a team kind of just ran through people and it was surprising. I feel like at Diamonds that has happened several times, you know. We talk again about Proper. That year that they won, that was kind of surprising, right? Like, whoa, like where did that come from, you know? And that
they had a good draw,
yep.
and they made they gained momentum once they got it. Right?
Yes.
So,
and also, not many of those guys have gone against them before either at that point, right? They still hadn't gone to that many events. And what was weird to me is like they didn't even really use Leon Jefferson that much, and you know, it was more.
No, they didn't. In fact, what's funny is the Hayabusa team. We were there, and I missed the first whoever our first fight was on our team. I think it was Julio. I missed it, and I went in. And coach is like, Dingman, get in there. So I go in there. I don't know what the score was. Right? I'm just going in there fighting. I'm running into a couple things. And he's like, Dingman, slow down. And I'm like, all right, slow down. And then I win my match, but I still have no clue what's going on. And we lose. And I'm like, what just happened? Right? And I remember, what was it? It's feeling like, man, these guys are pretty good, though. These guys are all right. But, you know, are they going to be able to make it, you know, past the next day? And they had a good draw the next one. I think they beat and then they just kept going and they kept going. And I'm like, wait a minute, are we really watching this? Did Proper win the Diamonds? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, wasn't there
had other teams that have done the same thing?
I think that I think on CTE they were talking about a team with Chris Robinson. I think they misspoke about which team it was. Because I thought that year that they won, it was when he stepped up and fought with TDE or WKF at the time, right?
He fought with WKF.
Yeah, it's the same thing. All right, so don't say no. All right, you know what I'm talking about. All right, it's Jim Haymore.
You're right. My bad.
Jim Haymore, right, was on the team.
Jim Haymore was on the team.
Ryan
was on the team.
And Chris. Yeah, that was the team, and they beat JPM, and they ran. That was the year that probably had one of the biggest team fighting groups, right?
Yeah, there was like a 2-3 year stretch where the battle had the best.
Yes,
you know, Chris Robinson, and at that time, I remember because I don't think he was a black belt yet.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't a black belt.
But he was fighting. He had this really delayed defensive roundhouse kick, right? That would catch people to the head.
Yeah.
And I think when you looked at him at first glance, you would not think like a kick to the head is coming, but he had this weird delayed roundhouse, like defensive, like leaning back roundhouse kick. And he caught like almost every person that he fought with that.
Right.
So nobody knew what to expect with him except for his intensity, right? Which is great.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a great example of just a team that was just kind of
caught fire.
Yeah, just caught fire, and people didn't really. When you went there, you weren't thinking this team is gonna, you know what I mean? If they had their normal lineup, maybe, but they didn't, and they did, and they took out everybody. So pretty amazing. All right, since we just mentioned intensity, all right, we're gonna go ahead and we'll go back to team stories because we can get in all of this, guys. And again, if you saw my status, let me know what kind of stories you want to hear. We got lots of them. But this kind of thing kind of went out of something. I watched a forum. I don't want to get into names, but a forum that a lot of people were sharing a video of, right? And just amazing degree of difficulty. Good technique. But some for me, it's just something's missing, and I feel like no one really calls that out or touches on that. And it's intensity and it's presence, it's facial expressions.
Word.
And I feel like we've focused so much on on degree of difficulty, on that's it
Skill
really.
level.
I mean, what are you
Skill
gonna say?
level.
Skill level in some ways, yeah, but it doesn't matter unless you actually put something behind it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And this happens in forums, and as well as like I want to know who had the best intensity in fighting you've ever seen. Like I feel like that's something we need to see more of is intensity. For the past 5 to 10 years, I've said this, and even some top competitors who have won many overalls, more overalls than any of us have ever dreamed of, I still think need to be more intense. And for me, it was funny because you would watch these divisions and you would be like, man, that was so intense, everything, seeing their musical form. And then when they did their extreme or their creative form, it was like, what was that? Did they forget to bring their other person or their teammate with it? You know what I mean? It was like watching someone who did a team form and then like they're missing their partner. It's kind of what it looked like. You know what I mean? Like where they just have no intensity. And so for me, it's just like, man, like where is this at? So some of the people in forums and in fighting, the best intensity, yes. Ty, I agree. Kevin Thompson had amazing intensity. I loved it. Another one that was kind of recent though was Jacob Ellis, man. Jacob Ellis was a great competitor. And when he would go, it would be like, just pumped up and look like he was going to pop something in his, in his brain or something, pop a blood vessel,
We should touch a little bit more on some of the forums ones because those are easier to see.
Yeah. And then we'll go into the fighting. That's fine. But Kevin was intense in everything. I mean, heck, he was intense in shaking your hand. I mean, God.
Yeah. I think on recent times, I think Kyle Montagna.
Okay. Yes, he had you're right.
Over the top intense.
Very intense.
Compared to his competition, right? I think he was by far intense. And I remember when I first watched him at his highest level, right? Well, I don't want to say that sounds funny to say, right? When I remember watching him at his highest level, right? One of his last few years, and I remember thinking in my head, like, you're one of the best guys in the division. You're performing and competing as if you're just trying to knock off some of these guys and that's some of the ways that you do it. When you're not the best skilled, when you don't have all the best tricks, when you don't have the most creative moves or the best choreography, you have to make up for it in another way. So when I would watch Kyle do it, I'm watching someone who looked like they're trying to compensate for things, although they had all the things.
Right.
I thought that was pretty cool.
That's cool. All right. So Andrew brought up one, and it's Keith Weston. So Keith Weston, the first time I saw him compete was I've heard of him, read about him in the magazines, but I think it was 1998 Junior International. It was the first time I got to see him. And this dude had at this time, he had the longest intro of all time. Like he literally walked like slow motion, eyes intense, just bugging out, bows in. And as he's bowing, it's like, like the intense breathe out, old school kind of, like overly selling the breathing, right? And it was intense. And then he just popped that freaking bow and the whole place shook. Dude, he is the most intense person. And then he took it to a whole nother level with all the extra breathing and stuff. And literally, his face would turn so red. And one year, Sport Martial Arts put out a video of his form, and they kind of did it, and then at the end they made a graphic where his head just blew up. It was hilarious.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that was funny.
yeah, so man, I mean, he was awesome. And then he kind of took it to the next level of doing it without all the extra breathing and everything else, and just super traditional.
I think that's where it's the best.
Huh?
I think that's where it's the best.
Oh yeah. But again, knowing the yeah, you're right. He would turn purple. But again, knowing the breathing and stuff is a big deal, you know. So we're getting a lot of good ones here. Damon Gilbert, definitely intense. I got lots of stories about that. Who are some other ones?
I mean,
I know myself and a lot of people, you know, like for me, I get super intense. I love it. And then, you know, there's many other ones that I can think of.
Let's touch on a few of them in forms, and then you know, let's see if we can hit some. I think Tim's right on when he says Casey. You know,
yeah,
Casey Nash.
definitely.
I mean, she was.
You know what? All right. Let's go the person before Casey. All right, Bernadette Ambrosia. All right.
Oh yeah,
that
absolutely.
squeal, that yell, that intensity, the power. I mean,
it was
that
one of those
really
yells where it was like you could hear it from across the room and know who it was.
Her and then Meadow Mays. There was those two. Those two were that, and really
at that time, yeah.
At that time, I think, without them, I don't know if Casey would have had to be as intense, you know, because those are her direct competition, especially with Bernadette. So that was definitely one.
Because Casey did credit Bernadette quite a bit for, you know, what she was trying to do.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I like that. What are some other ones that some people are saying here? Let's look at them. Yeah.
It says Ariel Torres, you know, puts everything into
context. Now, Ariel, I think what I like out of Ariel is just his straight up speed and power. I was watching him, I don't know if it was today or the other day. I was watching just of Ariel. He does a good job of kind of like putting little snippets out there of himself. And I'm like,
yeah,
this dude.
His training's insane, right?
His training's insane. I mean, I like it though. Like it's cool. It's exciting. Like I would want to do that same type of thing. I'm like, why didn't I think of this stuff? It would have been great, right? So, but to see a human from move to move, it's a very short burst, right? That's what it is, right? It's burst. It's not aerobic. It's anaerobic, right? Right. And people who think we do aerobic activity, we do anaerobic activity,
right?
Right. We go from here to there, bam, and when we stop, right? Ariel just does it like the best. Look, guy's awesome.
All right, there's two more that I think. So Corky Sykes is one. So this guy, did you ever have that drink Redline? All right, this was a thing back in like about 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Yeah, and he would have one. A lot of the competitors would have those, right? Around like that 2005 to 2007, 2008 range. And they'd just be like freaking out. I'm like, dude, you need to chill out. And Corky would be like that, man. And he would get into his bow form and just go so fast and yell. People like, whoa, what is going on? And then he'd add in his little bit of like popping, locking into the bow form. And it was great, man. It was a lot of fun. But Corky Sykes, super intense. Also, one more, which is way before, and a lot of people may not remember this guy, Mike Testa. All right, this is from 2000, and he competed mostly in the NBL, but he was one of the best junior competitors at that time. And this dude literally, like, he did his form, and when he finished, he was so out of it, like he was that intense that he didn't know how to get off stage. Someone had to actually go up there and take him off of the stage because he got so like lightheaded, just like, ah! And then just kind of he was just stuck. This happened. This was at Slugfest in New Orleans in 2000. The craziest thing I've ever seen. And that form was actually on the when we talked to Emily about the video of the top youth competitors of 2000, right? or 2000 and 2001. That video of him was on there of that. So it was
Yeah.
2000 and 2001, and this dude was just crazy and just a funny guy because he was like 14, 16, but like living in the dance clubs of New York, like just kind of one of those kids that just,
Yeah.
probably knew a lot more than he should have at that age,
Yeah.
So yeah, just it was crazy. But he was a great competitor. Got to find some more video of him and put that out there. All right, let's get into fighting.
Let's talk about some intense fighters. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Damon Gilbert's one of the most intense fighters I've ever seen. People talk about that 2008 time against Raymond. I'm talking about 2004 against Raymond at Rhode Island, where he just starts punching them. Call my points. Call my points. Like punching Raymond in the face and yelling at the judges to call his points. That's intense. There's many.
I don't know. I mean, Damon is obviously he's intense.
Yeah.
I think he says the judges say stop too early.
Oh, yeah.
And I say the judges decide when you stop by saying the word stop.
Right.
It's not up to you whether you think it's early or not. So I think he is a dirty fighter, but it's okay. Like people can wear that as a badge of honor. It's just what it is.
One of our other favorite
of point fighting.
Well, one of our other favorite special guests that we've had here several times is the same way, Jeremy Roquet. So
Damon's way worse.
Dude, it's a little different.
I will tell you I watched Damon fight Trevor when they were on the same team. Right?
Oh yeah.
And Damon fights with his right and Trevor fights with his left. And it's like, all right, we're going to see this. Trevor picks up that super high chamber, and here comes Damon and just back leg front kicks him right in the nuts. Right? There wasn't even anything.
It was an odd year. It was an odd year, okay?
There was no two ways about it.
It was an odd year. Ground kicks are legal in odd years, okay?
It was at the Diamonds. And I'm like, what just happened? Right? And what does he do? He goes back to the line. All body. I'm like, oh my goodness. No.
Oh man.
That was all balls.
There's a lot of good ones. I mean, it's hard thinking right now, but yeah, I think Kevin Thompson is one.
Willie Hicks is intense. There are different guys because there's different ways. There's different.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like there's different types of intensity on that with fighting. So
Willie's got an intense look as well. What I love about the way Willie fights is he's into it in all aspects, right? Like this is like what brotherhood, and we get it, and we understand that nobody else understands us outside of the people in that, event hall or wherever we're at. Like anybody just in the hallway who's walking by does not understand what we're doing except for us. This is a brotherhood to a certain degree. However, right, there does need to be a switch as to when you go in and when you go out. So much of this, we're friends with each other. We're around each other all the time. So it's hard sometimes for people to just turn that off. Right.
Right.
I feel like Willie does that pretty well. Right.
Yeah.
And he's always competing, even if we're just hanging out. Right. He's talking about how he wants to beat you. He's talking about how he beats you or what he's going to do to you next. Even though it's just jokes, he's always competing. I love that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right?
No, you're right. He's super intense. There's someone else that I'm thinking of that I feel is like that as well. And sometimes I don't know why. Chris Robinson's definitely one of them I could think of.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, again, he comes from Willie, so the hype is there. I feel like, but those guys, like, they're not even just intense when they're competing. They're intense when they're fans, when they're coaching, when they're at the event. Yeah, they're just intense people. So yeah, lots of good stuff there. We'll have to bring up some more. I'm sure. There's a lot of old school ones.
Yeah,
for me. All right, here's an old school one that I'm going to bring up, and he says this all the time, and it's Jay Bell. Jay Bell was an intense competitor, and he would fight you into the stands just to make sure he was the last one to get the hit. You know what I mean? And done it several times. And so Jay Bell was an amazing competitor. Look some of his fights up from the 80s. They're online on YouTube. That was when he was probably about, because I think he started getting into it the late 70s. But right when he was first into the early, but then he went into the late 90s, and really he pushed Brian Plimple to be the fighter that he was later on.
Brian Plimple was a pretty intense fighter too.
Yeah, and he was an intense fighter too. As Jay was kind of fading out, Brian was coming into his own to being that next fighter of the Southeast. So, great fights.
Let's talk about Brian's. I don't know how you talk about intense fighters without talking about Brian Ruth. This dude, I mean, from the moment he hit the adult division at 15,
yeah,
to the last time I think we saw him fight, which was like 2015, right? What was the last thing he did? Man, I felt bad for Trevor. He's out there at the battle in like a school uniform and like some duct tape gear, and you're like, all of this looks like this is gonna go bad for you, but you're Brian freaking Ruth, right?
Yeah.
So he's fighting Trevor, and he tries to do a sweep and does not sweep him.
No.
He just kicks his knee out, and I think it tears Trevor's like MCL is what happened. Right. And there's another intense guy, Trevor.
Yeah.
Trevor just looks up at him from the ground and was like, "What the hell, Brian?"
Right.
The guy just kicks your knee out, and here you're trash talking him too. Like, this is great. This is just fantastic. And he did come back.
Yeah.
He came back in that fight and then beat him.
Dude, yeah, talking about intense. It takes some intensity to get through that.
I'd have been done.
Dude, I mean, Trevor, talk about intense. In Montreal in 2000, I want to say 2000, okay? Trevor always had a hard time against Ninja. And so Ninja is fighting him there, Ninja Fitzpatrick. And they're fighting. And I guess he's getting a little frustrated, with Ninja, because Ninja's movement kind of bothered Trevor some. And Ninja kind of slipped and fell, and he's on all fours on his knees. Next thing you know, Trevor just goes off and penalty kicks him like punts his head. Yeah. So that's some intensity, okay? To where not really very, I don't know how, definitely not legal, but
no matter what league you're in.
Yeah, no matter what league you're in. So I think, I don't remember what happened. I know he got DQ, or he was supposed to. I think somehow he ended up in the finals still after that. But
not even sure Damon would have done that one.
No,
maybe he would.
I love the other the story that Travis always gets on Carlos about doing the guy's knee was on the ground and Carlos put his foot on the guy's knee and then kicked him with the other leg. Yeah. Yeah, Sam. Sam was there and saw that one because I think Sam had to fight. I thought you fought one of them in the finals or something that night. Well, I knew that you were around that time, so because I know the next year you fought. He fought Trevor in the at Quebec Open. In the continuous team fighting that we had, which is crazy. Lots of fun stuff in that. So, all right. Yeah, lots of intensity there. Let's get back to some, because we're kind of getting onto that with team stories.
Come on, man. I know you got some.
Man, there's too many in my head. There's too many in my head right now.
With Uncle Jeff.
So I'll go ahead and talk about the time when we did go to Quebec in 2001. Okay, so lots of fun here. and this was before it was a NASCAR tournament, but it was more just really a crane tournament. Huge event. As everyone knows that you've heard awesome things about the Quebec Open. One of the cool things they did there, they always did these set fights, but they did a team, like continuous battle with, and so they had us representing USA, even though we had a Canadian on our team. But, Jason Borelli, Trevor Nash, and Freddie LePan. All three amazing continuous fighters, okay? And you got to remember at this time, too, we were fighting NBL and NASCA, and all of them were winning NBL world titles as well. Then they go against, I think, a team from Venezuela and then a team from Guatemala, okay? So the Guatemalan team was a Perez team. I can't remember the Venezuelan team, but the guy was really good. There was a couple guys that were really good. And then we go against the Canadian team, which Sam, I think was on that team, and several others from there. I can't remember. I'm thinking Emmanuel St. Louis might have been on that team. So it was intense because we're talking about, sold out stadium, and all of these guys are just yelling, "Get him, Tyson, get him, Tyson," like calling Jason Tanks and Tyson because he's just dropping people, right? Dropping people left and right. And they're not DQing anything. Just, if you can't continue, we win. Trevor is one of my favorite continuous fighters ever to watch because, again, the intensity and then his ability to throw things out of nowhere. Kind of like when we had him on the show. He just tries different stuff. And everyone was just, excited about that. Trevor also won the overall grand. We're talking at that event, we had people that like Fortunato Aversa, Dominic Aversa, several, it was just a big event. It was a lot of fun. And Trevor, was just killing it that weekend. He probably had because I'm thinking we had team fighting as well on stage. We had continuous fighting. Our guys fought at least 5 times. Okay. And some of it's continuous, some of it isn't, but I just remember like hearing just the crowd yelling like, "Get him, Tyson," like just, and stuff like that. Just funny things that you hear when you go overseas or you go somewhere else. But yeah, I believe Sam and Trevor fought in that one. And I know that we ended up having we won the fight. They had to stop the fight against Canada. So that was one thing. Man. There's a lot of stories. Go ahead with one of yours, and I'll get another one on.
So I think probably the greatest. Well, no, it's not the greatest because there's always one better. But this is one of the funnier ones that I've had, that I've been a part of, was US Open in 2005. The reason why this one was so interesting was because just before that, like, Larry Carnahan comes out and decides, "Hey guys, there's a new rule and we're implementing it right now." I'm like, what is that? Like, you can't switch teams and then fight for a different team. Like, excuse me.
Because this was the year after the whole, like, when CJB like dropped out and got back in thing, right? That was 2004. And then 2005, this was
correct.
The next one. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this happened. Actually, no, this happened on the spot. Because straight up decided, Jack Felton's here. Let's fight with Jack Felton.
Yeah.
And Paul Mitchell had fits about that because he was wearing a Team Victory uniform, although Team Victory wasn't there. So Joe's like, "Why can't I fight with him? He's not fighting with anybody. I have a team. Problem solved." Right? And they were like, "Is he on your team? Is he not on your team?" Blah, 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 blah. Well, it turns out that we had to pick up too. And I say we, I mean Greg Betlock and I picked up BT Webb, the late BT Webb. Right. Okay. So, that dude was great. Right. And then I think Team Dojo had then picked up Kodak, who was actually on Team Pro Rank. So the only team who actually had a team that was just theirs was GPM. And then they were protesting, like, you got to have a team of just the guys that were on your team from the last event. You're like, oh, so you guys want to be grandfathered into the win.
Right.
So it was just so chaotic. Here's the funny part, right? Remember, we have no coach. So we have no clue as to what we just like, this is how we would do team matchups. We'd be like, I don't know, what do you want to do? You want to fight him? I'll fight him. I don't know. You think we should do this? Just me, you, I'll go do it. No, right? Literally, we're rookies in this thing. We have no clue. Nobody's guided us. We're just kind of figuring this stuff out and go, oh, here's a good karate tournament. Let's go. You want to go together? Sounds good, right? So anyway, I watched Greg fight Kodak, and I'm like, man, that's a good style. I don't know if I have the style to beat this guy, right? So BT Webb loses his matchup, right? Greg ties his matchup, and I win my matchup. We're in overtime. And I knew they were going to send Kodak out, and I was like, I don't know, I was hot. And Greg's like, dude, stay out there. And I could see out of the corner of my eye, they sent Kodak out, and I look like, I'm not fighting Kodak, right? What? Okay. I guess that means it's me, right? Goes out there and wins. And now I'm trying to like claim like I did something. We go out there, we fight WKF in the final, who had just picked up Hamid, right? From the tournament before. So even they didn't have one. So funny part about this, I'm telling Greg what I'm going to do. Like, man, we're going to beat these guys and we're going to put Hamid down. Hamid's not going to get anything on us. We're going to put you on Hamid. All right. He's not going to get it. You could do this, man. You got more length. You got more power. Sir, all of those things were wrong that day. All right. So we lose. And I'm telling Greg, dude, I'm going to do a flip on stage once we win. I'm going to flip. Watch this, man. Watch. So we lose. And I still do the flips on stage. Oh, wow. It was so bad.
What the heck?
We're trash talking Hamid, like, oh, yeah, he's a traitor. And Hamid I didn't know this. We got runner-up prize money, right?
Yeah.
So, and he's like, fine, I'll take your runner-up prize money then. And we're like, oh, wait a minute. Never mind. You can get a drink with us. Yeah, funny. They made fun of me hardcore for that one, right? Yeah. As somebody should.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, man, there's so many. I've been on so many just moments and crazy things, and I think sometimes some of the biggest ones or best ones were like not even at big tournaments, you know. And
you said it, yeah.
You know, it's just like it's funny, just and it's not even have to be like team fighting stories, just team stories, you know. I might have told this one before, but so Leroyce Tankson was on our team, right? So Leroyce is Jason Borelli's younger brother. Awesome competitor. Still to this day, one of the best continuous fighters I've ever seen. And so he comes to my house.
He's slightly cooler than Jason also.
Yeah, he is. Leroyce and I are about the same age. I think I'm a year older. And so he comes to my house after we go to Dixieland Nationals, and then we go to DC is the next week. Capital Classics next week. That is kind of like a home event for us at the time because our sponsorship was in Baltimore, right? Is right there. So we would have everybody there for that event. So, and our sponsor at the time just wanted us to have a team form, for some reason. And they were just trying to plug in anyone with me to have a team form. And so
Jeff hates team forms.
And I hate team forms. Exactly. I hate team forms. But about a month before that, we were all on a cruise, right? So we all went on a cruise and we do a demo. And, you know, Leroyce does some cool tricks and some things. And Spencer, our sponsor, was just real impressed with Leroyce with his demo. It's like, Jeff, you guys do a team form. See, I was like, but he doesn't really compete with forms. Like, he can do some things, but he doesn't really compete with forms. It's a little different, you know? So, all right, whatever. So he came to my house, you know, and again, he's coming from Chicago to, you know, Rustburg, Virginia, where there's 1,500 people in, with, acres and acres of land. And he's like, what is going on here? I don't even know what's going on. So we're training, like, I don't even have a karate school at the time. Okay. We're training outside, learn the form outside, in the hot, we're talking about August. So it's hot.
Yeah.
And then we would go to my church's gym and, or like, where everybody plays basketball, gymnasium, and practice. So we make up this form. We got it figured out, Before that, I do one of my best forms ever, musical form, intergalactic form. The whole place, still to this day, like Daniel Sterling, everyone was telling me, he's like, dude, that was yours to win. You should have won it. I'm real pumped up. I'm pumped up off of this high, right? So I'm like, all right, you ready to do this? Let's do it. All right. We're about to go against Wayne and Casey, Wayne Dalglish and Casey Marks. We're about to go against Anthony Atkins and Ryan Pinkston. We're about to go against, Daniel Sterling. We're about to go against whoever, lots of great teams. So we go, I represent, do our intro. I do this little thing where I kind of do like a front handspring off of his back. And then we get started. And I'm going. And he's just sitting there watching me. And he's just like, yeah, this way. Wait. Oh, yeah. And it literally just is him following me, but like 5 seconds afterwards. And he's just sitting there like, I don't remember it. He just froze up. And I'm just like, all right, we're just ending this. Yeah, let's end it. All right. We just bowed out. And everyone's like, I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm like, guys, that's why I don't do team forms, okay? This is why.
Oh my gosh, would that be aggravating?
This is why I don't do team forms. And again, though, like, I probably messed up too, because what happens sometimes, because I've done this before, where I did team forms with a friend of mine, Mark Farringer. We were going to do this, and he was on Team Elite at the time. And he was another good competitor as well. But my thing is, if something goes wrong, like, just make stuff up. Well, you can't do that with teams, right? You can't do that with team forms because you have another person that doesn't, your brain is not connected to them, right?
There's no mess up. There's no mess up option.
Just don't mess up. So, and I was just like, oh, we forgot. Well, I'm just going. In the early 90s, you could do that because not everything was sync, right? In forms. But couldn't do that no more. So yeah, so that's a fun one. And man, I mean, everyone gave Royce hell for that the rest of the week. Lots of fun, dude. That was just crazy. That was Damon's first that was his first tournament on the team, right? And he's all like, man, we got a great team. We're all ready. And he's like, I don't know what the heck that was. Don't do that again, Royce. Don't ever do that again. And Royce and him ended up being real good friends because Leroyce was like the mini version of Damon, right? They both had like 12 packs and, but Leroyce was like 5'4" and Damon was, a lot taller and bigger. but yeah, so that was a fun one. That was also the first time where that was the first time I really got to meet Damon. So Damon Gilbert, Alex is frozen. So I'm going to keep talking about this. So if people don't know, Damon was getting picked up on CJB. And at the time, him and Brian Plimple, who was one of my good friends, had one of the craziest rivalries there was. And it was intense. And they would get into brawls every tournament. And so I was just kind of not really sure about that, right? And so Damon comes in the middle of the night and comes into our room, sleeps on the floor. And I'm just kind of like, man, I don't know about this guy. Let's see. Do we got you, Alex? And so I was actually not definitely afraid, but I just wasn't too sure about having Damon Gilbert on the team. He was intense and he kind of scared me a little bit. And, but I just remember that and telling him that, like, dude, I didn't even know if I wanted you in my room. I was kind of worried about it. Come to find out, Damon and I have become best friends, and we're like, still to this day, is like one of my uncles. And we were always roommates from then on. But that was the first time I really got to meet Damon because to me, he was always the guy that was late hitting Brian Plimple and having crazy brawls with him, or same thing with Jason or Trevor or any of those guys. So, all right, we still cannot. Let me remove Alex. All right, guys, I'm going to go to my competitor of the week, and this is kind of a crazy one because I have great stories, and so a lot of people may not know this guy. He is a promoter, but he was one of a great breaker, all right, on the NBL circuit. He's from North Carolina, good friend of mine, Doug Armstrong. Guys from the South, get ready. I'm sure you guys have some crazy sometimes about this, but Doug is the type of guy. He has a rat tail, all right. He's from North Carolina. He's a breaker, so breakers are crazy, all right. Let's just say that, all right. And if anyone has breaker stories, breaking board stories, we want to hear them. All right. Doug has his school, MVKC, Mountain View Karate Center. He's the type of guy, not just breaking. All right. If you see breakers, right, they add in things that they see from katas, like all the yelling and the intensity and everything else. But then they add it to the breaking, which makes it really crazy, you know? So every time they do a break, they finish it. Him and his whole school are just, yeah, like that's the intensity that we were talking about earlier, right? And it gets so loud and crazy that people are just, I mean, you can't help but get pumped up watching it, right? Doug won the 2000 world title in breaking in NBL. And so he's always trying to come up with crazy things for people to do. You know, he even had this idea of me doing my form, but then just adding breaks to it, which is a really cool idea. We were never able to do it. He was the one that kind of pushed me to start breaking a board over my head before I did my form, right? He also has created crazy things for his guys to do, like, you know, putting an egg in your hand and then punching through a bunch of boards or bricks or slabs, and then not breaking the egg, showing the egg, and then cracking the egg and taking the yolk. All right. So you guys are nuts. All right. Doug also is nutty in other ways. All right. He he has a partial, so he has, you know, he could take this tooth out, right? Well, one year at Super Grands, and maybe this happened several times, but he's holding the boards for one of the students, and this guy does an awesome break. He breaks, and he gets so hyped. Yeah. When he does it, this tooth pops out, and he almost like pops out and like swallows it. And it was just the craziest thing ever. And we had it on video somewhere. So if you have that, put that out, guys. It's hilarious. Let's see. Sometimes after tournaments, Doug will do forms. And, you know, we're talking about a 6'5" guy with a rat tail, wearing tight jeans. And he always wears ring stars no matter what. That's his favorite shoes. Just an interesting guy, all right? Love the guy. He's a character, good guy in our sport. But, you know, if you've seen someone doing forms at, you know, midnight, doing a one-handed cartwheel, it's probably Doug Armstrong. So that is my competitor of the week. He has produced some of the best breakers of all time, and I hope to see more of him. You know, the more he's just an awesome instructor and a great guy. So always has a great tournament in Hickory as well. So Alex, I don't know if you're still there, bud, but I guess not. We lost Alex today. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for checking out our show. That was my competitor of the week. There we go. his internet went down. I thought that mine would go down today, so we're having some storms, but they're not as bad. Guys, let's hear in the comments, share. We want to know more about what you think about the VFT team fighting. We're going to find out more. Get ready. There's many tournaments coming up. So, oh, you want me? Oh, all right. Yes. So I'm going to do this and then we'll finish up. Competitor of the week for Alex was Mark Hanzado. All right. So Mark Hanzado's amazing competitor. This guy, and I'm sure Alex will write a little bit in the comments, and I'll just say, some things that he wants to do. But Mark right now is a great stunt performer, in many different things. I think he's in Georgia right now. Great competitor. And I think that Mark, was the first competitor ever to do a 1080 in a form, and of course on stage. Did it at the Bluegrass Nationals, competing. This guy just had hops. He had one of the prettiest round off flashes, I think, ever, or round off tucks or layout, whatever. He just had one of the best. And super clean competitor, liked to throw in side kicks there as well. So was a great competitor on straight up. And then went to Paul Mitchell later on, Alex has a take on that. I'm not going to share that because I actually agree with Alex's take on it, but we're going to share that next week. All right. But Mark Hanzado, one of the best forms of weapons competitors ever. When he came onto the scene as an adult, it only took him about 4 or 5 months to really start catching on and winning grands and winning overalls and making the stage. And that's against competitors like Anthony Atkins, Daniel Sterling, DX, John Sue, all these competitors. So Mark really changed the game. And for me, it was always funny that people would try to go and do a round off flash after competing against Mark. It made no sense to me. And it still makes no sense to me when people, it's the same thing for not just Mark Hanzado, but the same thing with, to me, Darrell Lewis was the same way. His round off flash and running flash was one of the best, or like a Steve Tirada. Those guys were it was just a different level, right? So why try to do what they're doing just because, well, it's in my form. Well, you can change your form. So Mark Hanzado, competitor of the week for Alex. He's going to talk more next week about that. Thank you guys for messaging us. Yes, Anthony Atkins, amazing competitor. I think, guys, we got a lot of good feedback. Keep sharing. We want to hear more. There's a lot more to talk about, all right? But and that we actually had planned today. But it's all right, time to go. Check out VFT. Check us out next week. This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. See you guys next week. Have a great night.